Good afternoon. Welcome to In Focus. I'm Melissa Ridgen. We're super glad that you could join us. A couple of fun things that we are putting in focus today. We are taking you on a tour of the Buffy Sainte-Marie Pathfinder exhibit at Urban Shaman Gallery right here in Winnipeg. Some of her groundbreaking digital art, some of her very sweet personal touches that she shared. We can take a look at them in there. We've got some fresh new reads for you by an assortment of Indigenous writers on a wide array of topics that you will care about and you'll want to have on your nightstand. Not sure if any of us expected to still be laying low with this pandemic still going so strong, but here we all are. I think we've all finished Netflix by now, and picking up some new books to support our writers really is a better way to spend our time and use our brains. We've got Raven Reads with a list of her books for young ones. We're going to talk to John Brady McDonald, a writer who has 4 books coming out in total from last year, 2021, and then this year, 2022. After 20 years of rejection by the industry, he'll tell you how he did it. We're going to also meet an emerging artist about the process of entering this line of work in a pandemic, in a time where more people are maybe more receptive to our art in this time of reconciliation. So we've got lots in store for you today. Our first guest went 20 years, as I said, being rejected, but in 2021-22, 4 books are coming out by John Brady McDonald. His third and latest is Electricity Slides. There will be one more coming out after that. I got to talk with him earlier in the week from Prince Albert, Saskatchewan. John Brady McDonald, thank you so much for joining us. We're glad that you could be here today. 2021, 2022, we're early into it, but it's not been kind to a lot of people. Omicron still going on. With this 5th wave, we're all exhausted. Everybody's getting a little bit angry. For you, though, these past year and a bit has not necessarily been all bad. Tell us about this. You got your 3rd book is out. You've got 1 coming out still.
I have been blessed in this time that everybody's dealing with so much pain, so much frustration, the new world that we're living in. I've been honored that I've had many blessings over the past 12, 13 months that have really it's kept me going.
Tell us a little bit about Electricity Slides. That's what's out this year. It came out in December, I believe.
It came out, in December. It is an experimental work that it's a book that many people said would never see the light of day. I was told it's too weird of a book. It's too avant-garde. It's too eccentric. No one's gonna touch this book with a 10-foot pole. The book is a collection of vignettes that are loosely interconnected. It's very similar to, it's written in the same style as Naked Lunch by William S. Burroughs.
Okay.
It was written in what was called the Dadaist cut-up style. And in the 1950s, a lot of the beatnik poets and authors would literally write random thoughts, random pieces of prose, pieces of stories, and they would physically, with a pair of scissors, cut them up and switch them around and change them around, try to make a cohesive story out of it. Sometimes not even try to make a cohesive story out of it. Naked Lunch is not cohesive at all. You can start that book in the middle and keep going. So I wanted to, it was something that I've wanted to do for a long time. I've wanted to experiment with words, creating a book in the similar style, taking the writings that the book is composed of a lot of the performance art pieces that I used to do when we actually could get in front of an audience.
Right.
And do,
when we were allowed to see people.
So, when we were allowed to see people. So these were monologues, and one person plays and performance art pieces that I would deliver to audience in character. And so I took these various monologues and one-man shows that I was doing, took all the handwritten notes I did, wrote them on a typewriter, on an old typewriter, and actually found some ribbon and typed them all out, took the pair of scissors, cut them up, stitched them together, taped them together, and managed to create a cohesive storyline of this individual who, through no intention, I had no intention of creating a narrative, but the story that I ended up telling became very allegorical to what was happening to me in my life. that was happening in my world at the time. So it was a nice little bit of synchronicity that happened as the story. This was just an experimental piece I was working on that managed to tell snippets of my life.
I love this. So this is, as we said, 20 years you've been trying to get published to no avail. Tell us a little bit about that frustration, and then why suddenly in the last 2 years now everybody wants to publish you.
Well, in 2004, I was very honored to have my first book published by Quigley Press. And I was a young man at the time. I was very brash. I was very, I was a young man from a young Indigenous urban man who had his first little brush of fame. And after my 15 minutes or so of that, kind of went, I kept writing. But I would submit work. I was getting stacks of rejection letters. If I got a rejection letter at all, sometimes I never heard back. I would send manuscripts out. The manuscript would come back unopened with the rejection letter on top of it.
Oh my God.
So,
do you ever think that maybe this was creator's plan though? Like maybe from that first little brush with fame, creator just went, nope, we're taking a break here?
I firmly believe I was being humbled. Because as I said, I was a young man, I was brash, I thought, well, I like this, I'm enjoying this. And I kind of maybe started to go a little to my head, and the powers that be. So
thank God for them, right?
Experience.
Thank creator for them, because they do come down and smack us down when we need it. That is absolutely for sure.
Yeah, and so to go from that experience, it made me a better writer. It made me a better, more careful with the words that I was using, more careful with the stories I was telling, and realizing who I was writing for. I was taking the thoughts, the emotions I had, and I was trying to pigeonhole them and batter them and butcher them into what I thought people would want to read. The narrative, the role that I was filling as storyteller. I was moving away from that, and the lesson I had to learn was, what story are you trying to tell, and why are you trying to tell it? Are you trying to tell it just for people to buy your books? Or are you trying to tell a story? And what's the message? What is your role as a storyteller? And I was very lucky and that I was able to learn that lesson finally after all those years of rejection, of trying, never giving up. The reason I never gave up was because there were many people that told me over my, in particular, like with my latest book, your work's never going to get published. Why are who you are as a person, where you're coming from, that's as far as you're ever going to get. It was being a residential school survivor, being a light-skinned Indigenous person, coming from an urban Indigenous background, coming from a place where my world was the hood that I grew up in. I had many people over the years telling me, you're not going anywhere, and I realized that I had a lot of little eyes watching me. And the young next generations coming up. If I gave up, what lesson is that going to teach them? And so that perseverance, that stubbornness to keep going, not just for myself, but so that those young people who saw me growing up saw me never giving up either. And I was lucky enough that was occurring at the same time. We had this kind of renaissance in Indigenous literary society where we had our friends like the late Richard Wagamese coming forward, Eden Robinson coming forward with her work, all these amazing authors and poets and writers who their work was being showcased not out of a sense of tokenism, not out of a sense of, okay, well, we got to make sure we got an Indian on the publishing list.
Right.
No, out of a sense of these stories need to be told, and having publishers and who were actually interested in what we had to say, not just as a PR move, not so they could be on the right side of all this, but as people who honestly, genuinely want to hear what we as Indigenous people have to say. So I was very humbled and very blessed and honored that all these different paths were connecting at the same time.
Well, we're thankful that you are stubborn and that you stayed on this path, and I think we should all be a little bit thankful too that creator took some time to get you to this point where you could share this gift with us and this perspective too. Well, actually, I've got two other things I want to talk to you about quickly here. Name change, huge thing for you. That happened last year. Tell us about that.
I was very honored last year to undertake something very, very special to me. When I was born, as many of your viewers know, and as many people who followed me, over the years know, my name when I was born was John A. McDonald. That was the actual name I was born with. That was the name I was given at birth. And for 40 years, I carried that name. Through residential school, I carried that name. Through all the journeys that I've undertaken to rediscover who I am as an Indigenous person, who I am as an advocate, as a survivor, as somebody who shared these stories, this was the name I carried. And I tried for a long time to do the best I could with that name. But in our society as Indigenous people, as survivors, that is a very, very painful name. It was an albatross around my neck for a long time. And I was very honored that the government of Saskatchewan last year put in legislation that stated that as residential school survivors, we could change our names legally at no cost to us. So I was very honored that as soon as this happened, because I've been wanting to do this for a long time. I've been wanting to, as the other statues of John A. McDonald are coming down, this was one I wanted to bring down too. So I contacted Eugene Arcan, who's with the Survivors Council of the National Center of Truth and Reconciliation, a residential school survivor himself, was in residential school with my father. I approached him and I said, "This is my story. How can we make this happen?" And he said, "Absolutely." And he said, let's make this happen. And so if I'm not mistaken, I'm the first residential school survivor in the province of Saskatchewan to undertake this name change through his help. And I'll forever be grateful to Eugene and his team for helping with that. The name I chose, I want to continue to honor my family. The McDonald surname goes back a long way on my home community, the Muskeg Cree Nation. There's not that many McDonalds left on our reserve. I noticed that when we buried an uncle of mine a couple of years ago, how many McDonalds there were not. Our surname is, our family is is shrinking. I didn't want to deny those ancestors and like them. At the same time, I want to acknowledge another who I am. I am the grandson of Métis leader Jim Brady. My grandfather was a very prominent Métis political leader during the 20th century. And in many Métis circles, he's held up there in the same regards with Joseph Grant and Riel and Dumont. So as his grandson, I wanted to continue to honor the legacy he started in advocating and being a warrior and being an activist. So I changed my name to John Brady McDonald so that I could continue to honor my father's ancestors as well as my grandfather and the legacy of what he did as a Métis activist.
What is next for you in 2022? You've got one more book being published?
I have a book coming out later on in 2022 that's being published by Woolsack and Wynne. It's my first nonfiction book.
Oh.
It's actually one of the most challenging books I've ever had to write.
Isn't that interesting?
It's a collection of essays and my thoughts, my 2 cents, as it were, on different topics in terms of as an Indigenous person in the 21st century, in the roles we fulfill, in a lot of what's happening in our society, my take on it, my view on it. These started out as a collection of I don't want to say Facebook rants, but it's things I would share on Facebook. As I would espouse stuff on Facebook, write them out, and I was very honored the publishers at Woolsack and Wynne took notice of it and said, "Hey, would you consider fleshing these out a little bit and creating an essay collection?" And I said, "Sure." And it's been a year of writing this wonderful book that's going to be coming out next year. That is, like I said, it was one of the most challenging books that I've written, because when you're a poet or when you're writing fiction, you can hide behind a turn of a phrase. You can, you can smooth out the edges. You can wax poetic, pardon the pun. But when you're writing from a nonfiction standpoint, when you're writing to share a message, and you don't have the bangles, you don't have the sparkles and the things you can hide behind.
Yeah.
It's just the truth, and it's my truth, and it's my my role as a storyteller, sharing my thoughts on different views, and getting to tell some stories that I've never had a chance to really tell in a book before. My connection with my grandfather, my claiming of England in 2000. So I get to talk a little bit more about some of the major aspects of my life. It's not an autobiography.
Yeah.
But it's I get to touch on a lot of the life I've lived, and the life I've been on to live thus far.
Well, we're going to be watching for that. It's still yet to be Untitled, I do believe, but we'll be watching for that in 2022. And until then, we've got electricity slides to keep us entertained.
I hope everybody enjoys it. It's a book where it's a strange book, we'll put it that way.
Well, we look forward to delving into the weirdness. I think we all could use a little bit of that right now, right? John, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. And congratulations. I was so happy when I saw on Facebook that you got that name changed. That it honestly was a highlight for me to see that.
Thank you very much. I'm very, I'm very honored, very blessed, and I'm very grateful for all the blessings and the medicine I've been given this year. And hopefully everybody on your team continues to stay safe and be protected and have good medicine around them.
Merci for that. It was great talking with him earlier this week. Raven Reads curates boxes of books to suit every reader by all Indigenous authors. They do a few boxes a year. You can subscribe to them, and she makes it easy for you to do. We love her for that. Nicole Mclaren is the brains behind Raven Reads. She joins us now from Kamloops, BC. Nicole, thanks for joining us. We had you here last year talking about this very thing, depths of winter. We should be doing things more than parking on the couch and watching TV, even though TV is good. If you watch, I would suggest everybody go to APTN Lumi if you're going to be a couch potato. But if you want to do more for your brain and support Indigenous businesses and authors too, then this is why we have Nicole here. Nicole, you've got a couple of picks for the little readers out there, and you're here today to tell us about some of them.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me again today. So all three books I'm going to introduce today are great for grade school students. So I highly recommend educators and parents check these out. So the first one I want to tell you about is called Jojo Mccoons, The Used to Be Best Friend by Don Quigley. I was very excited about this book because there's not a lot of chapter books for this age range by Indigenous authors. So this book is super cute, a great introduction to chapter books, easy to read, about a feisty 7-year-old Ojibwe and Métis girl in grade 1, navigating the complexities of friendships in grade school.
Love this.
So this is perfect for ages 6 to 10 or grades 1 to 5.
1 to 5, okay.
The second one I want to tell you about is called Ancestor Approved, edited by Cynthia Smith. And this is an anthology of 18 short stories that all take place at the powwow. And they're a great collection, all about laughter, pride, and identity. And I think you'll really enjoy this. And you'll recognize some popular Canadian authors in here, including David A. Robertson and Monique Gray Smith.
Love,
this is
love,
excellent.
love.
So this is great for ages 8 to 12 or grades 3 to 7. So highly recommend that one.
Okay.
And then my third one for you, I'm really excited about, is called Forever Birchwood. And this just came out yesterday by Danielle Daniel, who you may recognize from her first children's book called Sometimes I Feel Like a Fox, which is also highly recommended.
Yes.
Yeah. So this one just came out yesterday. It's the author's debut into middle-aged books. She also has her first debut adult book coming out later this spring. This one's all about teenage girls navigating complexities of identity, friendship, and protecting our environment. So I highly recommend this one. Just came out yesterday for ages 8 to 12 or grades 4 to 7. So all of these are available at Chapters, Indigo, and Amazon as well.
I love this. Okay, so but let's get back to your business, Raven Reads. If people are interested, how do they get involved in getting the book boxes sent to them, picking the ages? Just explain a little bit about that whole process.
Sure. So if you're looking to buy a gift for yourself or someone else that has a real impact and helps improve Indigenous authors and entrepreneurs, we highly recommend our children and adult subscription boxes, which you can just purchase by going onto our website. And then we also have a gift collection as well. If you're not quite ready to commit to a subscription, you can pick through some past products there as well.
I love that. What are you most excited, or is there, I guess, a few things or anything in particular that you're really excited about coming out soon in 2022?
Yeah, certainly. We've got some incredible collaboration projects coming up in 2022. So stay tuned for some exciting projects and products to come out of that. We also have our super fun book club on Instagram every month, and we'll be adding much more digital content coming out this year.
I love it. Well, one of my favorite things coming up on Facebook is ads for Raven Reads. I always enjoy going in there and seeing what you guys are up to, and I'm so thankful that you took time to join us today to share some of these awesome book ideas with us and the little ones that we buy them for.
You bet, anytime.
Thanks, Nicole.
Thank you.
We were very overdue for a break, so we're going to go take that right now. But when we come back, we're going to take you on a tour of the Buffy Sainte-Marie exhibit that's showing now at Urban Shaman, which I told you about earlier. It's incredible, so you're going to want to stay with us.
Join our conversation now. Call in toll-free at 1-877-647-2786. Like us on Facebook on our APTN News page. Follow or tweet us at APTN InFocus. And send your thoughts to infocus@aptn.ca.
Well, after a tough couple of years, 2022 was looking hopeful for art galleries everywhere, but the pandemic had other plans and people have been forced to readjust their plans yet again, including the Urban Shaman Gallery here in Winnipeg. That's an Indigenous run art space. Showing there now is the Buffy Sainte-Marie Pathfinder exhibit, which should be packed to the rafters at this point if they were opened, but they are not. So now they're making a shift to virtual. You can also phone them if you're in Winnipeg and make an appointment to go and see that exhibit. But let's hear a little bit about it. We met up with Dana Ward and Tammy. Take a look.
My name is Dana Warren. I'm the director at Urban Shaman Contemporary Aboriginal Art Gallery. We've been around since 1996, all Indigenous programming, and yeah, we have Buffy Sainte-Marie on show right now.
Love it. Okay, tell us a little bit about this room that we're sitting in, what we're seeing behind you here.
Yeah, well, there's been a lot of all different kind of ephemera as part of the exhibition. It's not just the digital prints. We have some of the artifacts from some of her instruments, but also the thing behind us, the video behind us, is her talking about her playing these instruments over the years. So,
how did this come to be? This is, well, first of all, before we even get into how this came to be, the effect that COVID has had. This would normally be bustling, this exhibit, obviously, right? Everybody loves Buffy Sainte-Marie, and when it opened in December, with the onset of Omicron, thanks Omicron, what's been the effect for you guys?
Well, there's been a great response to it. As you mentioned, Omicron really kind of put a damper on people being able to just come in, drop by, and tour the show. We are going by appointment only. But at the moment, we're just temporarily shut down just until the numbers come back down a little bit. So right now, we're really kind of speedily trying to get our virtual gallery set up. So that'll be, hopefully this week, we'll have it produced by Friday. And people can go through the show as if they were going through almost like a Google map walk through the space. So.
Yeah. Tell me, your take on how this all came to be.
Well,
process.
Well, I guess we talked with Natasha from Pathfinder Entertainment and with Dana over at Urban Shaman, and wanted to come on board to partner with them with this exciting exhibit. We had been longtime neighbors of Urban Shaman in the same building across the hallway. And at the moment, we are in between spaces. And so this was a nice opportunity for us to be involved in some programming, some live programming that's taking place, and a very exciting exhibit.
And you would not have thought that at this point, when all of this planning was happening, you probably was not thinking that we'd still be facing a fifth wave that would come and kind of kick it in the gut a little bit, hey?
Yeah. But we're really looking forward to the virtual gallery because you get a real sense and you can get details of the work and check out things. But the show will be up till March 5th. I am in process of maybe making a suggestion to Natasha if we can maybe keep it up a little bit longer because we have some time between the next show. But I think what's really great about having this show here is that even the people that have been able to see the show before Christmas, everybody responds to the Sesame Street stuff right away because I think that was such an integral time to see an Indigenous woman in popular culture.
Yes,
and I think,
remember that.
Yeah,
I love that vintage.
Yeah.
I remember watching this and it's like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, there's Buffy Sainte-Marie, who I knew my mom was a fan.
Yeah.
So it was just cool to see that's somebody that I know of through my parents, and you're seeing them as a kid on your TV, and how cool that all is.
Yeah, and that's why I love the title Pathfinder because it really, it talks about her being a forerunner, right? And she just did so many amazing things in the 80s and 90s, and I think just having her visually on something like Sesame Street, I think that's one of the first real kind of public reconciliation processes that you can actually see an Indigenous person represented and, talking about their experience through such a great medium.
I know, right? So I'm curious, your thought, this 2021 was a kind of a different time for Canada. There was this kind of a greater understanding of the truth of our history in this country with the affirmation of the graves at the residential school sites. how do you see that? So there's more truth, which one would assume there would be a greater, once more people see it, have it, there would be a greater sense to start reconciling for some of that. How do you think that's going to affect, Indigenous artists and galleries like Urban Shaman?
I think, well, even just with ACEART, I think it's just trying to be very careful with, just people's experience. And I mean, for Indigenous people, there's just so much is coming out right now. And I think it's just being respectful of, what people are portraying, I guess, in their art, or talking about their own past experiences, their family's experience, their community's experience. So it's a pretty heavily layered and complex situation, but, I think doing something like this amazing exhibition really just kind of, I don't know, it makes it more celebratory, I think. Everybody's just like so enamored by her. And
who can't be, right? Yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
At ACEART, we've been going through sort of a period of reckoning and have been doing some internal work on, our programming, and we're looking at our programming again. But as part of that, actually, we have a lot of Indigenous artists coming up in our next programming year. We have 3 artists out of the 5 artists that we have every year. And so, yes, I mean, it's really exploding. There's so much talent out there right now. We've also had online programming during COVID that just focused on Indigenous creators, because we wanted to, give space to more creators at this time. Now that we don't have we're offline, we're just in the process of moving into a new space. We wanted to bring some content that was relevant for today.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What, after this Buffy exhibit wraps up in March, what's next for Urban Shaman?
We've got a local artist, TP Joe. I'm sure a lot of people have heard about him. Yeah.
I love TP Joe's a friend of mine.
Oh, great.
That was a fun question.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And he was like, I don't feel any pressure following up Buffy. And I said, your show is going to be amazing. It's going to be great to have the TPs here in the space.
Oh my gosh. I'm so happy to hear TP Joe is coming here. We'll come back for that then, too.
For sure. Yeah, definitely come back.
Amazing. Well, thank you guys for opening up for us and for sharing with our audience, because it's nice to, if you can't be in Winnipeg, taking a tour for yourself, it was nice that we could come in and take people on a tour.
And people can just follow up on our website, www.urbanshaman.org, and also on ACEART space. They'll put the link to the virtual gallery. Yeah. So
I love this. Thank you, ladies.
Okay, thank you.
So obviously you want to see what is inside there, don't you? Let's take a look. We are at Urban Shaman. We are going to take a tour of the Buffy Sainte-Marie exhibit with curator Natasha Durocher-Lowenthal. She's going to show us around. Come on. Natasha! Hi. I'm good. I'm so excited to be in here. So this is where it all began.
It did, yeah. This little beige box. Yeah, this is where she began her exploration of visual art through the digital medium.
How old is this computer?
This computer is circa 1984, but she actually purchased it before then, because 1984 is really the inaugural announcement of it as a home computer.
Yeah.
But Buffy had purchased it previous to its big debut.
Ahead of her time. A Macintosh 128K.
Well, and if you look at the back to it, the model number is 0001.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
So, and she used this for what? What was this in her process?
Well, she used it to create some of the pieces that you see in the show.
We're gonna go and check
She
out.
also used it to explore communities that she wouldn't normally have access to. She used it for email, she used it for all kinds of things, and eventually she developed an entire education program through digital.
All beginning here. Okay.
Yeah. So one of the earliest pieces of hers, this is kind of like the early pieces section. One of her earliest pieces is depicted here, and Buffy's pieces are dated in a range because she didn't just leave a piece finished until it was finished. She reworked it as the technology evolved. She did various things that other people weren't even aware was possible too. She used some of the external technology like scanners and things like that to to rework images and to implement scanned images into her digital art. So she really was like one of the first people to really even take digital art to that level as well.
Who even thinks of that's what I'm always confused or impressed by, I guess, is these creatives, and it's like, what would even make you think to do some of these things? It's one thing to see something and then emulate it. Oh, I like that, and then you try to do it, but to just imagine it all, it's pretty.
Well, that's why it's really important that we really pen her name down in the history of digital art, because who knows who was doing this at the same time, but I can tell you that she was one of, if not the first, to take a computer and use it to create art for art's sake.
Yeah. Okay, what next?
Well, we see some of the progressions. The other thing that everybody forgets is that printing was not what it is today. Not everybody could print digital art.
Right.
So it was just as challenging for her to establish a relationship and source out appropriate printers for her pieces. It was very, very interesting, and that's another thing that's quite amazing about her choice and scale, is that knowing that it wasn't something she could just walk down to the corner printer and...
Yeah, you're not going to Staples in 1989 and having this
Costco
printed.
didn't do that.
No.
She was really generous too. Buffy's always very giving of herself, and she offered us some hand-drawn sketches, and some of these are really delicate, as you can see. They've been through hurricanes or floods or various challenges, but it just kind of adds another dimension to that.
That I love, hey?
Some of these are costume designs for a project that didn't happen. She was asked to kind of sketch out some costume design.
Skinny rabbit scraps must be wrapped around string or something.
Right?
Little glimpses into the mind. That's, there's lots to see here, that's for sure.
Okay, so this diptych is an example of her progression, about how she doesn't ever consider a piece necessarily finished, that something is always in progress. And she has two versions of this because she couldn't decide really which one she liked best. And so why? When it's digital art, that's kind of this added perk that you have a chance to rework things. Yeah. And she does that with her music too. She'll re-record the same song in a different feel.
Yeah.
And so it has just a whole new connection to a different audience when she does that.
This is just magnificent, hey?
Yeah, this is an impactful piece, and it's one of the most profound pieces to see in person. So I'm really anxious for people to be able to come and stand in front of it, because it really is, it really speaks to the old colonial portraits as well. It's kind of got this satire, and yet it's got this ghostly presence about it, and it's really, really one of my favorite pieces that she's ever done.
Oh, yeah, I think, and it's funny because somebody will be watching this on their TV screen and thinking, oh, that's really neat. And it does lose something if you're not actually in person and seeing the size and scope of it too, well, and the incredible detail.
Right, and the scale is absolutely intentional. Artists don't pick a size by accident. She really did want to have the impact of the portraiture of colonial times. She wants it framed ornately, like you would see the Blue Boy framed. It's really quite an interesting view, and it certainly has a huge impact when you see Indigenous faces reflected in that way.
It's too bad it's COVID times and this place isn't packed right now, and people who can appreciate it, right?
Well, and that really is always Buffy's goal, is to connect with people. It really is. And she takes everything as a platform to speak about the hard conversations, to bring levity to some of the intensity of the subject matter. There's a lot of humor in her work. There's a lot of humanity in her work. And there's just so much beauty and intelligence there too.
Well, that humor is part of what keeps us all going, right?
Absolutely, that definitely does. And
The resilience has a lot of humor.
It definitely feeds her resilience, and it's coming from a place that really is rooted in the Indigenous teachings of, humility and family and respect, and she really lives that way. And so it's really quite amazing to see how she has taken it and implemented it into every aspect of her career. We always talk about role models, but nowadays role models come in these tiny little compartments, and you have to separate the artist from the art in order to really
So true.
achieve the value in the art. That's not the case with Buffy. She personifies what it is to walk the talk.
Yeah. And generations and counting, right? It's not a role model at the time. It's like
That's right. Yeah, it's a universal approach to being an authentic artist.
Love it. What else do we have over here?
Well, we have some handwritten lyrics. We also have a poster that she used one of her images she lent her image to the cause of AIDS awareness. And so she did that with quite a few of her pieces of art. She kind of really took it and implemented it into her activism. And just a sense of community that's always injected in her work. And we come to, I think what's most important to me to communicate with this exhibit is her place in the history of fine art. We always talk about, we know that women and people of color, people who identify as women, are underrepresented in the history of art and technology.
Right.
And what do we do with that? We create a meme and we quote the numbers and everybody goes, oh, that's terrible. But what we have to do with it is we have to start putting an identity to the people who really were innovators.
Yeah.
And so speaking her name in the sentence of innovator of digital art is really powerful from an art standpoint, from a cultural standpoint, and from a science and technology standpoint. Because she's an incredibly intelligent artist.
Oh, absolutely. And this is just stunning. I love the hands.
This one is called Hands, the Coming of the Digital Age. And it was one of the first pieces that she lent to a group exhibition. And it really does speak to the power that technology impacted the entire arts community. Music, art, everything, culture.
I love, and the cradle boards. She made this, hey?
She started it. I don't think she finished it on her own. She had a friend finish it. The moccasins as well are all.
Well, I guess if her process is to start and carry things on for many, many years until they're done, this is not something you could do that with if it's for your baby.
Right. I think it speaks more to the impact of motherhood on somebody's life.
Yeah.
I think it
I
doesn't
started,
matter.
can you please help me finish this?
Yeah.
That's so true.
My grandmother always said that that's like economic equilibrium is motherhood because it doesn't matter.
Isn't that true? That's valuable. That is so true, hey?
Yeah. So this really made me feel so trusted, and it had a huge impact on me as far as her encouragement for me to continue with this exhibit and developing it and creating something that she would be really, really proud that we had done, because she really gave of herself. There are personal photos, family photos, things that she really gave of herself to explain and to put every piece in context for us. And it was...
How did this all come to be?
It's kind of a little bit of a story. It slowly evolved. Jill and Buffy, they had asked me to do the documentation and to organize her art portfolio. She'd been through a few different management that didn't necessarily give it the time and energy that it deserved. And also there was a period of time when digital art was not considered real art at all.
Right.
And so that was a battle. Like, it's very difficult to show your pieces in a way that does them justice if you're dealing with entities that don't really believe it's art and that have these preconceived constructs of what the definition of visual art is. It's an uphill battle, but we really wanted to give it another try, and we've got a lot of things going on. There's so much interest in the fact that she just turned 80, and she's had the longevity that she's shown in her career on every discipline. It's so impressive. But really what we need to reflect on is the things that got kind of tossed by the wayside or just not given as much credit as was due. And this is one of them, her impact and her use of digital art to reach out to a new audience where no one else had ever
And you
thought
grabbed
to.
it, and it's like, let's put it under one roof. People can also see this online though, right? I mean, not everybody's gonna be able to come to Winnipeg and see this in person. So where would people, if they wanted to see more of, any of the individual pieces or get some more information, how would people go about doing that?
Well, thankfully we have a really wonderful venue, Urban Shaman Contemporary Aboriginal Art Gallery. And they have a great technician here, and he's been documenting it and compiling it into a virtual gallery for us. And many thanks to Ace Art Inc., because they are the reason why we actually found a space, and they partnered with Urban Shaman so we could bring this here with all of the expense and extra precautions for keeping everything safe and bringing it to the right people to bring it forward publicly through the internet, through all of these interviews and wonderful media pieces. It's really vital that we lend some credit to the partners, because without them, we would not have been able to find an appropriate place for it and to do it so quickly. So that was really amazing.
How long is it on for here?
It's here until March 5th, so we'll have
Still some time.
Yeah.
Maybe COVID will be done by then.
I think that's something we've been saying for a very long
For 2
time.
years, yeah. But wouldn't it be nice to see, like in the older days, where you would have it packed, shoulder to shoulder, and enjoying it with a big group of people? I mean, we appreciate seeing it, in the small group too. But those good old times where you would see other people's reaction to what they're seeing and enjoying it and being immersed in it.
Yeah, there's definitely been a lack of fanfare, which is unusual.
That can be said for everything, post 19 or 2019, I think, right? Just general lack of fanfare. Well, we're thankful that you took us on a tour here to show us some of this, and people can find some more online on Urban Shaman's website.
urbanshaman.org.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Thanks so much for coming through with me.
Thanks for having us. I just love this so much. Oh my gosh.
And it glistens like it's shining. Do you see like
Yeah.
facets? It's so beautiful.
We need to take another break, but coming up, artist Kristen Flattery tells us all about breaking into the industry during a global pandemic and the growing appetite for Indigenous art. Stay with us. Okay. Kristen, can you hear me? Kristen, can you hear me? I don't think she can hear me. Hi, Kristen.
Okay.
Oh, there, I can hear her now. Can you hear me, Kristen?
Yes, hello.
Hey, nice to meet you. I love your Kukum scarf in the background.
Thank you, Teeny Witch.
It's so good. Yeah, we're just on a commercial break right now, and then when we come back, we have about 5 minutes to chit chat about your work. And I love your Instagram. I'm scrolling through. It's like, well, how can one person be this cool and do this many things? But I'll ask you about that when people can hear the answer.
Thank you. Yeah, I haven't been posting on there as much. I need to upload a lot more updated stuff on there.
Well, it sounds like you're a little too busy to be, Instagramming your life. You're busy living it. How many kids do you have?
I have 2. One's a teenager now, but he was little when I first started doing murals, and both my kids have always been very involved in the mural making process.
Jeez, yeah. Well, yes, I would. I don't have to. No, it's okay. It doesn't matter. Because I got them here. It's okay. There's only a few. Yeah, thanks. Okay, we're gonna get going right away here, Kristen.
Okay.
Welcome back. Kristen Flattery is a Winnipeg artist of Dakota, Anishinaabe, and Irish-Belgian ancestry. Her mom is from Long Plain First Nation in Manitoba. She works in a variety of mediums. She joins us now to talk about what decolonizing art means to her, among other things. Kristen, thank you so much for joining us.
Hello, Buzuan and Tanse.
Oh, I have to say, so you bead, you draw, you paint, you're big and small, you paint, you're a mom, you just graduated from university. Where do you get all this talent from? And obviously good time management. Which side of the family does it come from?
Well, I think it comes obviously a lot from my Indigenous side. I was taught that it's actually our ancestors and our spirits that are speaking through us when we create art, and we're mainly just the vessel there to create the art. So I don't know if I got some strong ancestors here trying to pass this talent through me, but I've been drawing and painting since I was a child.
Oh, and is your mom or your dad artistic? Does it run in the family in that way?
No, my mom's actually a doctor, but my mom was adopted by an Icelandic family, and my aunt was always painting, and I was always watching her. I grew up watching Bob Ross too.
I think there should be a study done on how many people had Bob Ross as an influence in their becoming creatives themselves. I wanted to know, so decolonize is a word that we're hearing a lot more nowadays than we did, a decade ago or so. I'm curious, what does it mean to you in your work?
It's really powerful because I choose to challenge this notion that Indigenous people and art is both stagnant or locked in the past. And I'm just trying to show that we are here in a contemporary sense, just like what Buffy Sainte-Marie was doing. And I utilize decolonizing art practices by using my body as a vehicle of expression to not only navigate and reclaim Indigenous space in Western institutions, but it's to reclaim, it's to navigate. It's imperative to take up space. So I like to do big, large murals where I'm actually taking up as much space as possible and blanketing the art in decolonization and creating a safe place for conversations for other Canadians to have.
I mean, I love that we saw, as you were talking, we saw some of the murals that you work on. What do you have in store for 2022 and beyond?
Well, I just completed a mural at the University of Manitoba that's going to be going up It's going to be installed in February, and there's going to be a launch date hopefully in March, as the pandemic allows us to do so. But that was 17 murals 17 paintings, that I did on 17 different canvases. Wow. That is comprised into one large mural. It's going to be in the Active Living Center to promote healthy activity. You can actually see some of it in the background there. It's called Mishkiki Gidikan, those 6 paintings there. And it's to promote healthy lifestyle activities, nutrition.
So, and last question for you, who are you excited, like, is there anything that you're excited as an artist that you want to go and see that other artists have done? Something that you could share with our audience, perhaps they don't have it on their radar yet?
Honestly, I have a lot of friends that are doing things under the radar right now. So I don't know if it's my place to share it all yet, but there's definitely a lot of BIPOC art that's coming up. A friend of mine did a mural for TikTok recently, Blake Andrew. I'm sure you all heard about that.
Absolutely.
Oh, it's phenomenal. And I can't wait till great big pictures of that are shared. Yeah, a lot of people are doing things behind the scene. I know Casey Adams and Jamie Black and Annie B. Chippen and all doing things. But as far as sharing it with the public, I don't know. Yeah.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time to come here and share your art with us, your thoughts too. And we look forward to doing another show. We will do another show on just, more art. We like popping in, seeing what everybody's up to. And it seems like there's a lot more of it now than ever before. Okay, yes. Well, thank you so much, Kristen. It was a pleasure meeting you, and thanks for joining us. We got to wrap up our show for today. You can join, you can go and check out urbanshaman.org if you want to see more on that Buffy Sainte-Marie exhibit. I'm Melissa Ridgen. Such a great pleasure to have you all join us here today. Have a great rest of the day. We'll see you next week.